Do I think Zebec in the grand scheme of things is kind of underrated? Yeah, I do, because even though 10 cents is still on my mind when it comes to ZBCN, even though nothing I say is financial advice, the reason why I think Zebec is underrated is because when I take a look at its acquisitions, at least when it comes to GateKnox and Science Card UK, some people may be thinking, who cares about this? They're just doing this for marketing. But I think it goes beyond that because when I take a look at these projects, I think hypothetically it could maybe bring some benefits to Zebec moving forward. Because if we take a look at Zebec acquiring GateKnox, now GateKnox is focused on AI-powered KYC for Web3. Now, why is this interesting? It's because, again, there is an aspect of AI, but I think also beyond that, the KYC market, I think, could hypothetically be something that is pretty interesting because KYC stands for Know Your Customer. And according to Mordor Intelligence, the KYC market is predicted to reach nearly $14.5 billion by 2030. I mean, will it ever happen? Who knows? That is just a projection, in my opinion. But then I kind of like the direction in which Zebec is heading by even being focused on stuff like that. So this is why I think Zebec is kind of underrated because some people think its acquisitions are kind of useless. But then I don't think it really is in the grand scheme of things. Let's say ZBCN were to go to the price of 10 cents. Considering current circulating supply, market cap at that point would be around $8.5 billion. That's around a 35x from here. I mean, keep in mind, that market cap right there is still less than 10% of what XRP is sitting at in terms of market cap currently. I'm not saying what XRP could maybe do during a fully fledged type of hypothetical altcoin season. That's what it has right here, right now. Less than 10% of, again, what it has. So just imagine that. And I think we can all arguably agree that altcoins aren't necessarily doing the best. So during a fully fledged bull run, do I find this unrealistic? I wouldn't find it shocking to me. Now let's take a look at Science Card UK, something else they acquired. Now, through Science Card UK, their aim is to bring innovation to campus spending, research grants, and budgeting for universities across the UK. Now, I think this is very amazing because if we take a look at, for instance, it has been reported that the UK higher education sector's total economic impact of £265 billion was recorded for the 2021/2022 academic year. And again, that was a couple of years ago. So I think it's pretty interesting. And again, £265 billion. I mean, I'm not talking about dollars. Again, I'm talking about pounds. This is very hypothetically amazing, in my opinion, being focused on education through Science Card UK. So this is kind of the forward-thinking mindset that I think Zebec has. It goes beyond just other projects out there trying to create hype and attention because let's take a look at what Zebec could have done instead of this. Maybe, Zebec could have tried to make an advertisement with an athlete or a celebrity or whatever and talk about, Zebec is being focused on AI-based PayFi and all this type of stuff. Maybe they could have done that, but then instead, theoretically, at least from what I see, this is what they did, right? So I like this right here. It showcases that Zebec actually cares about the long-term future in my perspective, because if another project out there is kind of focusing on just trying to promote, kind of showcase what they're about without the fundamentals really being there, then it's a little bit kind of counterintuitive in my opinion, because I think it's better to be focused on the fundamentals, make it good, then maybe in the future, let's say, have more attention. But then if, let's say, the foundation really isn't that solid, what's the point? This is my point of view. Now, let's not forget, if we take a look at Zebec, yes, some people like to say, hey, it's a watered-down version of Ripple and Stellar, but I think it really is more than that because, sure, it could be viewed as that arguably, but then I think it goes beyond just it being focused on payments, global trade and finance, because, again, we take a look at stuff like this. It's very interesting. I mean, some of Zebec's competitors, they don't even bother acquiring anything. And maybe in some cases they maybe can't, who knows, or maybe they don't want to. But this kind of showcases that Zebec, they're willing to kind of put back to the project in a sense that they're willing to acquire things that could really help strengthen the, I would say, fundamentals of Zebec moving forward. Now, let's not forget, Zebec is focused on RWAs. RWA stands for Real World Asset, and they are digital representations of physical assets on the blockchain. Zebec being focused on that, I think, is something that is pretty crucial because I think it's an emerging market. Like, for instance, we see a very massive project out there like Ondo, which is focused on RWAs. Not to mention, I take a look at when it comes to Zebec as well, they're focused on payrolls. Also the Zebec cards is still kind of doing its thing. So I think it's a pretty complete project. In the grand scheme of things, it's often viewed as a watered down version of Ripple and Stellar, but I think it's kind of underrated if it is viewed as that in my mind only, right? Because I think there's more to that, and I think its acquisitions do showcase why, you know what? It's more than kind of meets the eye in a sense that it's not just this random project out there that is kind of trying to become somewhat a version of Ripple and Stellar, but more watered down. I don't think that is the case. Keep in mind, one of the early backers when it comes to Zebec is allegedly Circle. Circle is the creator of USDC, the stablecoin, and Circle is publicly listed. So I think that is very kind of impressive to even see Zebec be able to achieve something like that. Also, not to mention Solana Ventures, a backer of Zebec allegedly. I mean, this is something that I like as well. Not to mention, Circle allegedly, even based on Zebec's own post on X, they do kind of mention how Circle allegedly holds a significant amount of ZBCN. So I think that really gives a lot of stability to the project because some other projects out there, sure, they have, this backer holding a lot, this backer, but then the reputation, kind of the value that kind of Circle kind of brings in terms of the reputation, it's just on a different level because it was pretty good before, but now that it's publicly listed, now that, USDC has more, I think, kind of attention, this kind of showcases that, you know what, Zebec being able to kind of have that in terms of Circle being one of the early backers, that says something in my opinion. And again, I don't think that Circle, at least in my perspective, is looking to sell or anything like that. I just don't think they would need to. Just think about this, right? Circle, I think, does not need Zebec. They would be fine without it. Just take a look at how well USDC is doing, even before. They don't need this, but then the fact that they even believed in it, I think kind of showcases something, I'm not automatically going to believe in everything Circle does or, something like that, but then at least when I take a look at something like this, it is something that gives me good enthusiasm, I would say. I like the community when it comes to Zebec. I think ZBCN is listed in good exchanges, and also ZBCN historically did pretty good without even much of an, I would say kind of attention for altcoins in general, which was very impressive that it kind of did that, right? There is a big pullback, I'm totally aware of that, but still the way I view it is that if ZBCN did that before, what would it do if the market, let's say, really did pick up for altcoins in theory? So this is why I don't want to give up when it comes to ZBCN. Historically though, altcoins usually, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Will that happen this time around? Who knows? However, at the same time, if we do some basic math, and the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year, we had 18 months on top of that, around October this year, again around a year and a half. We're not in October yet. I get it. We're kind of close, but not really, right? So I'm still staying patient. Now, will that October date be correct? There's no way to tell, in my opinion, at least I can't. Whenever it happens later, or whenever again it happens, there is only one thing that is within my control, so I'm going to be acquiring, holding, and just waiting. Literally, that's it. Beyond that, I can't control anything else. Not too long ago, ZBCN was top 10 in terms of utility when it comes to Solana. I like Solana as a layer 1 blockchain, so I am still a big fan of Zebec. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.